was contacted by the makers of a platform called Vault, who are trying to tackle this exact problem. And this thing was built fairly quickly after my outburst on social media, and this cuts the middleman out completely.
You trying to tell me bro had found two shiny rocks, rubbed them together, and discovered
DIY.
DIYers over the last week, songwriter, singer, James Blake, very well known. We were teased with a solution that he came up with for artists looking to actually make money from their music. Now, you may recall a reaction video that we did in which he was talking about at length, specifically on Twitter, about how music is so devalued and how streaming has been a part of the devaluing of music and the changing expectation of listeners. He got everybody riled up. Then he started to tease, after he had a conversation with Kanye, a solution that he was excited to share with everyone. Let's actually hear directly from a video that was launched on his Twitter account explaining what this solution is.
This is how much artists make out of streaming. Between 0.003 and $0.005 per stream, depending on the platform, which is 1 million plays equals $3,000. And if you're signed to a label, then imagine that number's cut at least by 50%. And after management cut, which is between 15 to 20%, and taxes and recording overheads, it's just not sustainable for an artist to focus just on their art. So after my tweets did the rounds, I was contacted by the makers of a platform called Vault, who are trying to tackle this exact problem. And it made sense that we join forces to find a fairer way. I'm going to start the experiment off by releasing from my vault of unreleased music for a subscription of $5 a month. It's music direct from me to you, where no one can gatekeep what I release to you or delay my releases. And it's got a chat section for everyone to discuss the music. For context, I've had sometimes to wait 6 months to be given the green light to release music, and this cuts the middleman out completely.
Does it cut out the middleman, or does Vault just become the next middleman? Let that rest in your brain for a second.
I've ever been able to before. And so this is kind of a backstage pass to the process. It's where you'll hear first about ticket drops and anything else I'm doing. And this thing was built fairly quickly after my outburst on social media, and we'll be adding features as we go along. But the concept of subscribing to an artist directly, I think, can change the game and release artists from the relentless merry-go-round of the current state of things. So if you want to know more about Vault, or you're an artist who wants to join the platform, I'm going to be posting a video about it on my feed. This is hopefully a great step towards allowing artists to be as authentic as possible while still making a living. So go to vault.fm.
Hold on, before you get your ad off, you trying to tell me bro had found two shiny rocks, rubbed them together, and discovered Patreon? I know that's not what I just heard. Discovered grouped. Let's give it the benefit of the doubt. Benefit of the doubt, all right? Let's give it the benefit of the doubt. I was curious before I wanted to develop an opinion what actually is on there. But before I got to that, I started to read some of the responses in the comments, because a lot of people had a lot of hope in this solution, because it sounded like he was echoing a lot of the complaints that us as independent artists have. However, I keep telling you guys, this term of independence is getting currently rebranded. Shout out to my guy, Social Media Ayez. He was able to compile a few reactions from the news of James Blake launching this app that mysteriously just popped up. I can't understand what the narrative is here. I think it's safe to assume he's an investor on Vault. Can we just be safe to assume that, even though that hasn't been disclosed? You trying to tell me an app with no customers magically appeared and had access to James Blake, and James Blake was like, cool idea. Let's do lunch, guys. No. This starts to feel like a rollout the more that you start to dig into this. Here is one reaction. I'm not sure who some of these folks are. I'm assuming they are reply comments on his Twitter. This first comment is from someone named Judah2A. They say, $5 a month for one artist is crazy pricing. Usually have 40 artists in my yearly top 100. If I want to support them all, that's $2,400 a year. Monthly subscription. But can we expect a regular monthly song release? Also, what does this platform allow that Bandcamp doesn't already? I don't agree with the top part, because I feel like there's a bigger issue that all these companies that are all of a sudden launching that are pro-independent are not getting. We'll cover that in just a second. Next comments. James Blake made an OnlyFans, but for MP3s. Okay, let me stop here. Before it starts getting ugly, I think it's important to, first of all, give respect where respect is due. Instead of being someone out here who's just coming up with all the problems and no alternatives or solutions, I try to make sure that's part of my responsibility when I do these videos. I always try to have the second end of the video be some kind of active, practical solutions. So I salute he and the Vault team for coming up with this idea, even if it is, I guess, borrowing some of the elements of things that have already existed. I love James Blake with all my heart, says Sing to Conley. But did he just invent Patreon with Discord integration again? These kids are smart, bro. Someone else says, big up James Blake for turning this legitimate complaint into a sales pitch for another tech company. So this person says something that I think is debatable. So James Blake's big fix is just a new Patreon with a large fan base. Going direct to consumer is the quickest way to lose momentum. While it might boost earnings, they will undoubtedly slow over time as your core group diminishes. You need growth, not earnings at first. I think that's your business model based upon your music career. And I think every artist should weigh, because every artist is not made equal. Even every up-and-coming artist is not made equal. There's a difference between if your favorite Twitch streamer who has 2 million followers starts rapping tomorrow, his beginning is going to be dramatically different, from the young dude who just started rapping and whispering in the next room because he don't want to hear his mama hear him cussing. It's a little bit different. So I think that to create these one size fits all is a reoccurring issue that people have, especially with direct to consumer. I don't think that we're the judgments of that. I think direct to consumer will gatekeep for us. More on that a little bit later. Someone else says, I also want to say on the whole James Blake thing, I don't $5 a month love James Blake. And his vault does nothing to get me to that point. So maybe this is just for artists that are happy with their audience and don't want to find new fans. I think a lot of people are going off the deep end and they're kind of projecting their own limitations in this conversation. They're mixing it into direct to consumer. And once again, I don't hear this conversation coming from people who have gone direct to consumer, probably because they have too much business to tend to make statements like this. I look at this and this sounds like to me someone who has either theorized about it, never tried, or given up. And it's still too early in this new ecosystem to make assumptions. Speaking of folks that were chiming in, even the CEO of Even chimed in with a hot take, as he put it. Music producers, rappers, and singers, are you looking to get some constructive feedback on your newest music? Joining Critique My Beats is super easy. All you gotta do is reserve a pass to critiquemybeats.com. Click on book a slot and choose if you wanna get 1 beat review, 2 beat reviews on our live stream every Monday. Best beat and best song of the night is going to win a cash prize. Join us at critiquemybeats.com. Artists don't want to sell unreleased music they don't have a desire to release. Fans don't want subscriptions. The end. I think there's a lot of sweeping assumptions happening in our independent space. And one common denominator that I see is that there's way too many opinions coming from folks who represent or have been a part of the old music industry. There's an unlearning process they have not shown us that they have gone under. I think in development of all these different products that are pro-independence, that are the other direction of the industry, they still have a lot of the nasty capitalist side of the business and the career they just came from. Because when I start to hear people talk about a business model for everyone, that's not what this is. And I think that although I'm very critical of this app that didn't just appear out of nowhere, I think it's an unfair assessment to say that if all artists can't find a way to make this work, then it doesn't work. Or no fan is going to do this. Anybody who speaks in absolutes and has never been in your shoes is not qualified to tell you what you can or can't do. What I'm seeing with James and Vault, I feel like it gives me hints of Patreon, of course, which I've been a part of as an independent artist. It gives me hints of another newer one that came around, Grouped, which you see Nick D championing. He's part of that. He's doing really, really well on there. However, they're trying to solve a universal problem, but we don't all have the same business. This is only one business model of using exclusive music, unreleased music as sort of the bait to get your audience and get your community, build with them, talk with them. That is one model, right? Community building is something that does affect all of us if we're looking to be successful. But there's some people right now, they're going to ride for their 20 and their 30 and they're done. With that being said, I shared a few thoughts here. My first initial reaction to seeing that, I said, critics of indie musicians going direct to consumers say you need a dedicated fan base for it to work. My question is, was this your same logic when you signed up for a subscription with a music distributor like TuneCore or DistroKid before you had a fan base? Was this the same logic when you bought your first music equipment without a fan base? I assume it wasn't. Because the truth is, you don't learn the skill set necessary to achieve direct-to-consumer success waiting on the sideline for an audience to magically appear. If this is a model that interests you, learn it and fail as quickly as possible while the stakes are low and scale it through experience.
Somebody gonna have to tell the truth, and I'm gonna tell it.
I want to go fast forward. You can go here to my Twitter accounts at Curtis King if you want to go ahead and read more. But there's one more that I want to, actually two more that I want to bring to your attention. The direct-to-consumer solutions everyone seems to be coming up with, kind of like James Blake, have one common flaw. They are all trying to figure out what works for all levels of artistry, from beginner, intermediate, and advanced. This implies that we all share a one-size-fits-all business model, and that simply isn't reality. What works for you may not work for me, and that's fine. It's not your responsibility to find my solutions. Just keep building on yours. The reason why I think a lot of these companies, and this is not some big expose or some big ha-ha moment. The reason why I believe these tech companies are looking for a one-size-fits-all solution is because the people are convinced, the artists are convinced that there's one, and two, they are incentivized by seeing the amount of money they could make off of people who don't know what the hell they're doing, or they figure don't, who just want to be a part of it because it's the shiny new platform. The shiny new app, the shiny new website, the one that had, oh, they had this artist on there, this artist on there. Here's another tweet that I had on this topic. I said, as an experienced independent artist, I would be highly skeptical of any direct-to-consumer tech solutions, any direct-to-consumer tech solutions that present themselves as a solution for all, or a medium that redirects your fans away from your website. When you see things like this in the news, ladies and gentlemen, right, I made a point last week about the prices are not going down at Guitar Center for instruments or for DAWs or software or whatever you're getting from there for your musical or your home studio, right? And we still yet buy from there, whether you're a beginner, up-and-comer, or you're an established independent artist, you're still buying from there regardless of what your fan base is. It's because it's a tool that will put you in front of people and then help you at one point in time profit from it. But you start to see the writing on the wall when you see articles like this. One of the most legendary, been in business for over 100 years. Sam Ash is closing down 20 locations. This article says a dozen. I found out that it's actually 20 around the U.S. DIYers, the writing is on the wall. And I hope that you can make the connection that all of these firings that have been happening at UMG, at Capitol, at Sony, they're going to put a brand new, fresh batch of sharks in the water. There will be some people who come from that traditional music industry system, because they're not all bad, that will have great ideas and poor execution. Great ideas that are just good. There'll be people also who will continue the predatory ways of the industry that they just came from, haven't unlearned, and apply that to you as a pro-independent product. Be prepared for that. The waters are going to get murky in this independent space. Here is something that I would say as your friend, as your co-independent artist and co-DIYer.
DIY.
Anything that is dragging you away from your website, any entity, company, app that is dragging you away from your website, please ask yourself a list of questions. Why you're allowing that to happen. Now, that's not to say that some relationships are not strategic and it can't work. Hey, I still test it out every once in a while. But you know what the common denominator is? After every campaign, no matter how good or bad it goes, inevitably, I am still left with the business of my website. And people are always obsessed and worried about, well, how am I going to generate traffic, Curtis, if I don't go here and I don't do this? Well, that's part of your business model. But you got to understand, even on social media, even on this YouTube, for me as a YouTube content creator, I am renting a room in a complex that I do not own. And at any given point in time, the rug can be slipped from right underneath my feet. That's why everything still points back to CurtisKing.com. This is why the most important investment of your time outside your music is to slowly build up your website, a center hub to send people to. Because when you see these apps and ideas pop up, it may not be this one that grabs your attention, but it may be one that seems like, I really don't like doing that. I really don't want to research it, and it looks so easy. And ask yourself, do you need another subscription, first of all? Second of all, ask yourself, why am I allowing this to take me away from this direct-to-consumer, this independent business? Fam, some of these folks will pose themselves as helpers of your independence, but in all actuality, they are distractions from your independence. Some of these people will pose themselves as helping you eliminate the middleman. They haven't eliminated shit. They've turned into the middleman. They're just sexier because they're meeting a lot of your needs. Those are my thoughts, though, DIYers. What's your thoughts?
DIY.
DIYers, if you enjoyed this content, make sure that you hit the like button and maybe even consider subscribing. Come on, man. Don't be greedy. Peace.